barren landscape of Mars sprawled endlessly, a mix of rust-coloured dust and jagged rocks. It was supposed to be a routine mission, one of many that had come before, but something felt different this time. I was part of a small team of scientists and engineers stationed at the Martian base, tasked with studying the planet's geology and climate. Our research was vital for understanding Mars's history and preparing for future human colonization. But nothing could prepare us for what lay hidden beneath the surface. It was a normal sol, with the sun casting an eerie glow over the red terrain. I was piloting the rover Curiosity 2 across the Valles Marineris canyon system when my sensors picked up an unusual signal. It was faint but persistent, emanating from a location about 10 kilometers from my position. Curiosity peaked. I adjusted my course to investigate. As I drove closer, the signal grew stronger, a rhythmic pulsing that resonated deep within me, drawing me in. "Hey, Emily," I called over the comms to my colleague at the base. "I think I've found something unusual out here. Sending coordinates." "Copy that," she replied, her voice crackling through the static. "Be careful, Jack. The last thing we need is to lose another rover." I chuckled nervously, but my excitement overshadowed any trepidation. After what felt like an eternity, I finally reached the source of the signal. What I found sent chills down my spine. A massive metallic door loomed before me, half buried in the Martian soil. Its surface was smooth and unblemished, contrasting sharply with the rough terrain surrounding it. The door bore the unmistakable insignia of NASA, the white letters against the dark background striking an ominous tone. I couldn't believe my eyes. The door was about 10 feet high and wide, a monumental structure that hinted at secrets long buried. My heart raced as I examined it, the details standing out against the dull Martian landscape. There were no handles, no visible seams, just an imposing surface that seemed to pulse with an energy of its own. "Emily, I've reached the coordinates," I said, trying to mask the excitement in my voice. "It's a door, a real, honest-to-God door. What do you think it is?" "Are you serious?" she exclaimed. "A door? Are you sure it's not just some kind of geological formation?" "I'm sure," I replied. "It's metallic. I can see the NASA logo. This is incredible. I'm going to try to scan it." I activated the rover's sensors and directed them at the door. The readings were off the charts, anomalies I had never encountered before. The door seemed to be an impenetrable barrier, yet it radiated a low-frequency hum that resonated in my bones. "Jack, you need to be careful," Emily warned. "We don't know what that thing is. It could be dangerous." I nodded, though I was already moving closer. Curiosity had always been my driving force, and it urged me to push the boundaries of what was known. I was a scientist, after all, driven by the desire to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. As I examined the door, I noticed a small panel to the side. It looked like it could be a control mechanism, and I felt a surge of hope. Maybe I could find a way to open it. I approached it cautiously, brushing off the Martian dust that had settled on its surface. "Jack, be careful with that panel," Emily warned again, her voice tight with anxiety. Ignoring her concerns, I inspected the panel closely. It had a keypad with a series of glowing symbols that seemed to shift under my gaze. My heart raced as I recognized some of them. They were reminiscent of ancient symbols from Earth's cultures used in cryptic rituals and religious ceremonies. I pressed a few buttons at random, and the door vibrated slightly, the hum growing more intense. Sweat began to bead on my forehead, and a mixture of fear and exhilaration flooded my senses. The door seemed alive, responding to my touch. Suddenly, a loud clank echoed through the air. The ground shook, and I stumbled back, nearly losing my balance. The door had shifted, and I realized it was slowly opening, revealing a dark abyss beyond. The interior was shrouded in shadows, a void that seemed to pull at me, beckoning me forward. "Jack, what's happening?" Emily shouted, her voice frantic. I think it's opening, I gasped, barely able to comprehend the gravity of the situation. The door opened wider, revealing a staircase leading down into darkness. I felt a chill creep up my spine as I stared into the void. I have to go down there, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. The pull of the unknown was too strong to resist. Jack, no! Emily's voice was a mixture of panic and authority. You can't go in there alone. I have to, I replied. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I'll be careful. I secured my helmet and grabbed a flashlight, stepping cautiously onto the first step. The air grew colder, and the faint hum I had heard earlier resonated deeper in the chamber. With each step, the darkness enveloped me more fully, the walls slick and metallic, reflecting the light of my flashlight in ghostly patterns. As I descended, I felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over me. It was as if the very walls were watching me. Aware of my presence, the staircase spiraled down for what felt like an eternity, twisting and turning like a serpent in the dark. Finally, I reached the bottom. The staircase opened into a vast chamber the size of a football field, illuminated by flickering fluorescent lights that cast eerie shadows on the walls. I stepped forward, my heart pounding in my chest. What lay before me was a sight I could never have imagined. The chamber was filled with strange equipment, monitors flickering with static and displaying indecipherable data. There were tables scattered with tools and instruments that seemed far advanced from anything I'd seen on Earth. But it was the center of the chamber that caught my attention. A massive circular platform lay beneath a dome of glass, pulsating with a strange energy. Symbols similar to those on the door adorned its surface, glowing faintly as if waiting for something. Jack, are you okay? Emily's voice crackled through my comms, grounding me momentarily. I'm fine, I stammered, my eyes wide with wonder and fear. You won't believe what I've found. It's like a research facility down here, but it's so advanced. Suddenly, a low rumbling filled the air, and the platform began to hum in response to my voice. The symbols on its surface shifted, rearranging themselves into a sequence I could not comprehend. Jack, get out of there, Emily shouted, her voice echoing with urgency. But I was mesmerized, unable to tear my eyes away from the glowing symbols. I stepped closer, drawn to the platform, as if it were a magnet. The air crackled with energy, and a sense of foreboding washed over me. Before I knew it, the platform erupted with light. A beam shot up into the dome above, illuminating the chamber in blinding brilliance. I shielded my eyes, staggering back in shock. The walls vibrated violently, and I felt a deep rumble in the ground beneath my feet. Jack, Emily cried, panic lacing her voice. What's happening? I don't know, I yelled, fear flooding my veins. The symbols continued to shift, spinning in a chaotic dance of light and shadow. As the light intensified, a figure emerged from the center of the platform. A humanoid shape, but its features were obscured by the brilliance of the energy. I felt my heart stop as I realized this was not a human. It was something else, something otherworldly. Jack, get out of there, Emily shouted again. But my body wouldn't move. I was frozen, entranced by the being's presence. Who are you? I managed to whisper, my voice barely audible over the roar of energy. The figure began to take form, its features becoming more defined. It had pale, almost translucent skin, and eyes that shimmered like stars. It looked at me, and in that moment, I felt a connection, a bond that transcended time and space. I am the keeper of knowledge, it said, its voice resonating within my mind, rather than through the air. You have awakened us from our slumber. The being began to move, gliding effortlessly across the chamber. You seek answers, and I can provide them, but knowledge comes with a price. What do you mean? I asked, my voice trembling. The secrets of the universe are not for the faint of heart. They reveal truths about your world and your existence that you may not wish to confront. I swallowed hard, the weight of its words pressing down on me. What do you want from me? To understand, the being replied, to embrace the darkness and the light within yourself. Only then can you comprehend the truth we possess. Suddenly, images flooded my mind. Visions of Earth, of humanity's triumphs and failures, of the delicate balance between creation and destruction. I saw wars, suffering, and chaos, but also love, compassion, and resilience. The duality of existence unfolded before me, revealing the beauty and horror of life. As the visions continued, I felt a deep sense of dread. No, this can't be true, I gasped, stumbling back as the truth crashed over me like a tidal wave. This is the reality you must face, the being said softly. Your world teeters on the brink, and your choices will determine its fate. I felt the walls closing in, the weight of the knowledge pressing down on my soul. What do I have to do? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. You must choose, the being replied. You can return to your world, armed with the knowledge of what lies ahead, or you can stay here and become one with the knowledge, a guardian of secrets. My heart raced as I grappled with the implications. If I return, what happens to the others? To humanity? Their fate is intertwined with yours, it replied. Your choices will ripple through time, shaping the future of your kind. Choose wisely. I took a step back, feeling the gravity of the moment. The light dimmed and the visions faded, leaving me in a haze of uncertainty. The air crackled with energy, and I felt the weight of the decision pressing down on me. Jack, please, Emily's voice broke through, frantic. Get out of there, now! In that moment, I realized I couldn't let this knowledge be lost to time. I couldn't let fear dictate my choice. I choose to return, I said, my voice steady, but I'll share what I've learned. The being nodded, and I felt a surge of energy course through me. The chamber began to vibrate violently, and I knew I had to leave. I sprinted back up the staircase, the walls closing in as the light intensified behind me. The ground shook beneath my feet, and I barely managed to keep my balance as I raced upward. Jack, what's happening? Emily's voice echoed in my ears. I'm coming, I shouted, my heart pounding as I climbed. The air was thick with energy, and I could feel the presence of the being behind me, guiding me to safety. As I burst through the door, I stumbled back into the Martian sunlight. The door slammed shut behind me with a deafening roar, and I collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. Jack, Emily rushed to my side, her face pale with concern. What happened? Are you okay? I nodded, still trying to catch my breath. We need to leave, now. We scrambled back to the rover, adrenaline coursing through our veins. The Martian landscape seemed eerily quiet, the only sound the whirring of the rover's systems as we prepared for takeoff. I felt a heavy weight settle in my stomach, knowing that I carried knowledge far beyond our comprehension. Jack, what did you see? Emily asked, her voice trembling. I hesitated, the memories flooding back with vivid intensity. I saw things, truths about our world, about humanity. We're at a crossroads, Emily. We need to share this with the others, with Earth. She nodded, fear and determination etched on her face. We need to get back to the base and contact mission control. As we sped away from the sight of the strange door, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The Martian winds howled around us, carrying whispers of ancient secrets and forgotten knowledge. Back at the base, we immediately contacted mission control. As the transmission crackled to life, I recounted everything that had happened, my voice steady despite the tremors of fear that coursed through me. What you've discovered is unprecedented, the mission control officer said, his voice a mix of disbelief and concern. You need to send all data immediately. We'll initiate a full investigation. I nodded, but I felt a gnawing sense of dread. The knowledge I had gained was a double-edged sword. I had seen the potential for destruction and hope, but I couldn't shake the feeling that forces beyond our understanding were at play. As the hours passed, we transmitted the data, but a sense of unease settled over me. What if they didn't believe us? What if they sought to suppress the truth? Days turned into weeks as we waited for a response from Mission Control. The silence was deafening, and I could feel the weight of the knowledge pressing down on me. I shared my fears with Emily, who remained steadfast in her support. "We need to do something," I said, pacing the small confines of our base. "If they won't act, we have to take matters into our own hands." "Jack, we're not equipped for that," she replied, concern etched on her face. "We need to trust the system." But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was deeply wrong. The longer we waited, the more I felt the walls closing in around us. The Mission Control officers were hiding something, and I was determined to uncover the truth. One night, unable to sleep, I decided to delve deeper into the data we had collected. I pored over the readings from the door, the strange symbols, and the visions I had experienced. There had to be a connection, a thread that linked it all together. As I sifted through the information, I stumbled upon a file labelled Project Aegis. My heart raced as I opened it, revealing a web of classified documents outlining a covert operation designed to study extraterrestrial phenomena. The project had been buried deep within NASA's archives, its purpose obscured by layers of bureaucracy. I felt a surge of adrenaline as I read through the details. The project focused on ancient Martian civilizations and their possible connections to other worlds. The last entry sent chills down my spine. Initiate contingency plan. Possible breach of interdimensional barriers detected. I rushed to Emily, my heart pounding. "You need to see this. They've known about the door for years." Her eyes widened as I shared the information. "If they knew, why didn't they tell us? What are they hiding?" "I don't know, but we can't let this go unnoticed. We have to find a way to expose it." We spent the following days devising a plan to leak the information. We couldn't rely on Mission Control, so we decided to contact independent journalists and researchers back on Earth. If we could get the truth out, we might be able to force the hand of those in power. "Jack, this is dangerous," Emily warned, her voice filled with concern. "We don't know who we're dealing with." "I know," I replied, determination burning within me, "but we can't let fear dictate our actions. The world deserves to know the truth." As we prepared to send out our findings, I felt a sense of foreboding settle over me. What if we were not the only ones who had discovered the door? What if others were already aware of the knowledge hidden within? As we prepared for our final transmission, I felt a sudden chill in the air. The lights flickered, and a low hum reverberated through the base, echoing the strange energy I had felt before. "Jack, something's wrong," Emily said, her voice tight with anxiety. Before I could respond, the door to the base slammed shut, and the emergency lights flickered to life. I felt a surge of panic as I rushed to the window, staring out into the Martian landscape. A figure emerged from the shadows, illuminated by the dim light of the base. It was the being from the chamber, its ethereal form gliding toward us. "Do not be afraid," it said, its voice echoing in my mind. "I come to warn you." "What do you want?" I asked, my heart racing. "You tread on dangerous ground. The knowledge you seek to reveal holds consequences that extend beyond your understanding. You must choose wisely." "Consequences?" I echoed, my mind racing. "What do you mean?" "The truth is a weapon, Jack. It can be used to save or destroy. If you expose what you've learned, you may awaken forces that should remain dormant." "What forces?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "The guardians of knowledge," the being replied. "They will come to claim what is theirs, and you will be caught in the crossfire." I felt the weight of its words settle over me. What should we do? Seek understanding rather than revelation. The door is not merely a passage. It is a gateway to potential. Use your knowledge to foster peace, not chaos. With that, the being vanished into the shadows, leaving us alone in the dimly lit base. I turned to Emily, my heart racing. "What does it mean?" I asked, fear gnawing at my gut. "It means we need to think carefully about our next move," she replied, her voice steady. "We can't let fear control us, but we also can't ignore the warnings." As we pondered our next steps, the weight of the knowledge hung heavy in the air. I felt torn between the desire to reveal the truth and the understanding of the potential consequences. "Jack, we have to make a choice," Emily said softly. "We can either go through with our plan, or find another way to share the information without causing chaos." I nodded, the gravity of the situation weighing on me. "We can approach this carefully. We don't have to expose everything at once. We can share our findings with trusted researchers and allow them to handle it." Emily smiled, relief washing over her face. "That's a good idea. We can reach out to experts who can guide us through this." We spent the next few days drafting a carefully worded message, outlining our findings without revealing the full extent of the knowledge we had encountered. We contacted researchers, scientists and journalists, hoping to find allies who would understand the importance of our discoveries. As we sent out the message, I felt a sense of hope mixed with apprehension. We had taken a step toward transparency, but I knew that there were still forces at play that we didn't fully comprehend. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Our message reached a network of scientists who shared our concerns and were eager to investigate further. I felt a surge of relief as we collaborated with them, sharing data and insights. But as we delved deeper, strange occurrences began to unfold. Equipment malfunctioned, communications became erratic, and I felt an ominous presence lurking in the shadows. It was as if the door had opened not just a passage, but a floodgate of unknown forces. One night, as I sat in the base's common area, I noticed movement outside the window. I turned, my heart racing, and peered into the Martian night. Shadows danced on the surface, flickering in the dim light. I felt a sense of dread creeping over me. "Emily, come here," I called, my voice tense. "What is it?" she asked, rushing over. "Look outside, do you see that?" I pointed toward the shadows, which seemed to twist and writhe in the darkness. "I see it," she said, her eyes wide. "What is happening?" I think the door has awakened something. We need to be careful." As the days passed, the disturbances intensified. The shadows grew more pronounced, and I felt a constant sense of being watched. It was as if the very fabric of reality was shifting around us, a convergence of energies we couldn't comprehend. One night, as I prepared for bed, a sudden chill swept through the base. I felt a surge of energy pulse through the walls, and I knew we were on the brink of something monumental. "Jack!" Emily's voice broke through my thoughts, panic lacing her words. "You have to see this." I rushed to her side, my heart pounding. The monitors were flickering wildly, displaying incomprehensible data and images of the chamber I had discovered. The symbols glowed ominously on the screen, pulsing with an energy that felt alive. "It's like they're trying to communicate," I said, fear creeping into my voice. "We have to understand what this means." We spent the night analysing the data, trying to decipher the messages hidden within the chaos. As the hours passed, I felt a connection forming, a bridge between our world and the unknown. Suddenly, a clear message emerged, cutting through the noise like a beacon of light. "Beware the awakening. The Guardians approach." My heart raced as I read the words. "We need to prepare," I said, adrenaline coursing through my veins. "We have to find a way to protect ourselves." The following days were fraught with tension as we prepared for the inevitable confrontation. We fortified the base, sealing off entrances and monitoring the surroundings for any signs of disturbance. But as we braced for the unknown, The shadows outside grew bolder. They began to take form, shifting and coalescing into shapes that resembled figures, guardians of the knowledge I had awakened. "Jack, what are we going to do?" Emily asked, her voice trembling. "We stand our ground," I replied, determination igniting within me. "We won't let fear control us." The night of the confrontation arrived and the air crackled with energy. Shadows flickered around the base, and I felt the presence of the Guardians closing in. As the first figure stepped into the light, I felt a surge of recognition. It was the being I had encountered in the chamber, flanked by others that shimmered with ethereal light. "Why have you awakened us?" it demanded, its voice resonating within my mind. "I sought knowledge," I replied, my voice steady despite the fear coursing through me. "But I didn't understand the consequences." "You tread on dangerous ground," the being warned. "The knowledge you possess holds the power to reshape reality. You must choose your path wisely." I felt the weight of its words settle over me, the gravity of the situation pressing down on my shoulders. "I didn't mean to awaken anything," I said, desperation creeping into my voice. "I wanted to help, to share what I learned." "Knowledge is a burden, Jack," the being replied. "It can be used for creation or destruction. You must decide how you will wield it." I glanced at Emily, who stood resolute by my side. "We want to share the truth, but we will do it responsibly. We won't let it fall or into the wrong hands." The being considered my words, its eyes shimmering with ancient wisdom. "Your intentions are noble, but the path ahead is fraught with challenges. You will face opposition, forces that seek to control the knowledge for their own gain." With those words, the Guardians began to fade, their forms dissipating into the shadows. "We will watch over you," the being said, its voice echoing in my mind. "Choose wisely, for the fate of your world rests in your hands." As the Guardians vanished, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. "We need to be vigilant," I said, turning to Emily. "We can't let fear dictate our actions. We have to prepare for what lies ahead." Together, we set to work, forging alliances with the scientists we had contacted earlier. We shared our findings and worked to create a framework for responsible disclosure, ensuring that the knowledge we had uncovered would be used for the betterment of humanity, not its destruction. Months passed, and as we continued our work, I felt a sense of hope beginning to bloom. We had formed a coalition of researchers and advocates, all dedicated to exploring the mysteries of the universe responsibly, but the shadows still lingered, a reminder of the knowledge we carried and the forces that sought to control it. I knew we had to remain vigilant, to continue fighting for transparency and understanding in the face of adversity. One night, as I stood outside the base, gazing up at the stars, I felt a profound sense of connection. The universe was vast and full of secrets, but I was no longer afraid. I'd faced the unknown and emerged stronger, driven by a desire to share knowledge and foster understanding. As our coalition grew, we began to see the fruits of our labor. Researchers around the world began to awaken to the mysteries of the cosmos, and a new era of exploration dawned. The shadows that had once haunted me transformed into a guiding light, a reminder of the responsibility that came with knowledge. I understood that it was not just about discovery. It was about how we chose to use what we learned. Years later, as I stood before a new generation of scientists, sharing the story of my encounter on Mars, I felt a surge of pride. "Knowledge is a powerful tool," I said, my voice steady. "It can unite us or tear us apart. It is up to us to choose the path we will take." As I looked out at the eager faces in the audience, I remembered the darkness I had faced and the guardians who had guided me. I had emerged from the shadows, ready to embrace the unknown with courage and determination. "Remember," I said, my voice filled with conviction, The truth is a living entity. It grows, evolves, and changes. We must approach it with respect and humility, for it holds the power to shape our destinies. The room erupted in applause, and I felt a surge of hope wash over me. The future was bright, filled with endless possibilities. Together we would explore the cosmos, seeking answers to the questions that had haunted humanity for centuries. As I walked off the stage, I felt a sense of fulfillment. The knowledge I had gained on that fateful day on Mars had not only transformed my life, but had the potential to change the world. But even as I embraced the hope of the future, I knew that the shadows would always remain, lurking at the edges of our understanding. The Guardians would watch, waiting for the moment we would confront the depths of our own existence once more. And with that knowledge, I was ready to face whatever came next.